Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into something, well, frankly, a bit strange, but also amazing: deer antlers.
Right. Not just any antlers.
No, exactly. It's how male deer, they shed them completely every winter.
Gone. Just like that.
And then they regrow them at this astonishing rate. I think the figure is something like 2.75 centimeters a day at the peak.
That's right. Which is just phenomenal speed. We're talking fully formed bone, blood vessels, connective tissue.
Yeah, it's regeneration on a scale you just don't see elsewhere in mammals. It kind of makes you ask, how on earth do they manage that?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. The biological secret, if you like, seems to be down to a specific group of stem cells. Really powerful ones.
Cells.
They're called antler blastema progenitor cells, or ABPCs for short. And these aren't just, interesting for deer biology.
No.
No, their regenerative power is so potent that researchers are now seriously looking at them for potential use in human healing.
Repairing human tissue.
Potentially, yes. Trying to unlock what makes them tick, essentially, for our own benefit.
Okay, and that brings us squarely to what we're diving into today. We're focusing on a really groundbreaking study just out in July 2025, published in Nature Aging.
A top journal, yeah.
And this study looked at these tiny little things, sort of like microscopic delivery packets. They call them extracellular vesicles, EVs.
That's the term, EVs, extracted from these deer antler stem cells, the ABPCs.
Right. So we're going to unpack what they found when they used these EVs in animal studies, and then think about, what could this actually mean for human health, regeneration, maybe even slowing down aging?
It's quite a leap, potentially.
It really is. This deep dive is all about exploring these findings that honestly could change how we think about healing itself.
Absolutely.
So, okay, they've got these ABPCs, they've extracted the EVs. The big question then is, what happened when they actually used them? What did they see in the animal models, the aged mice and rhesus macaque?
Well, the results were quite remarkable, really. And surprisingly broad.
Broad how?
So take bone loss, a classic sign of aging. In animals that had age-related bone thinning, giving them these EVs led to, significant increases in bone density, especially noted in the femur.
Wow, okay. That's a big deal. For things like osteoporosis, right? Brittle bones?
Exactly. A huge potential implication there. Millions suffer from that as they get older.
Okay, so that's fixing the structure of the bones. But you said the effects were broad. Did it, stop there?
No, not at all. Beyond just bone, the animals that got the treatment, they just showed improved vitality, generally seemed healthier.
Healthier how? What did they measure?
Well, they observed things like stronger limbs, more spontaneous movement, just getting up and about more. And interestingly, even improvements in memory and learning on cognitive tests.
Huh. So it's hitting the body and the brain. That points to something more systemic, doesn't it?
It really does seem to be a more whole body rejuvenating effect, yeah.
Yeah.
Much more than just patching up the skeleton.
And if we're talking systemic effects and aging, I guess the next question is inflammation. That's always linked, isn't it?
You're right on track. And yes, they saw significantly lower markers of chronic systemic inflammation in the treated animals.
Okay.
And as you know, that kind of low-grade persistent inflammation is basically a hallmark of getting older. It contributes to so many age-related diseases.
So these EVs seem to be calming that down somehow, addressing a really core part of aging.
That's what the data suggests, yes.
Yeah.
Tackling one of the fundamental processes of biological decline.
But, okay, maybe the finding that made me sit up the most was this evidence of epigenetic rejuvenation. Now, for someone like you who really gets the nuts and bolts of aging, what does that actually mean? Setting the clock back, is that just cosmetic, or is it real functional improvement?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? So epigenetics. Yeah. Think of it like software for your DNA hardware. It doesn't change your actual genes, the code itself,
right,
but it adds these little chemical tags or marks onto the DNA over time. And these tags control which genes get switched on or off. They dictate how your genes express themselves.
And that affects how our cells work and how old we are biologically.
Exactly. It influences cellular function and ultimately our physiological age. So when this study says the EVs set the clock back, it means they seem to be reversing some of those detrimental epigenetic marks that accumulate with age.
Okay, so what did that translate to in the animals?
In practical terms, For the mice, it was like turning their biological clock back by over 3 months, which is quite a chunk of a mouse lifespan.
And the macaques.
Even more dramatic. For the monkeys, it was an astonishing more than 2 years.
Wow.
2 years, yeah. So this isn't just skin deep. It suggests a reversal of some underlying cellular aging processes that kind of lead to frailty, disease.
Right.
So potentially, yes, real functional improvements in health span.
That's kind of mind-blowing, actually. And it feels like a very different approach compared to, say, using whole stem cells, right? Which always comes with worries about safety and ethics.
Precisely. That's a key advantage here. These EVs are cell-free. They don't contain whole living cells, meaning they don't divide. Generally, they don't trigger the same strong immune rejection responses you can get with cell transplants. And frankly, they're just easier to handle, easier to store, easier to deliver.
So potentially safer and more practical.
That's the hope. It makes them a really promising tool for regenerative medicine. You get many of the potential benefits you might associate with stem cells, but perhaps without some of the really tricky complexities.
And thinking about that potential, I mean, it opens up some pretty exciting possibilities, doesn't it? The idea that these tiny packets, originally from deer antlers, could one day help us, help restore bone, rejuvenate tissues, maybe even slow down how we age.
It's certainly provocative.
Imagine the difference for people dealing with osteoporosis or just the general frailty and cognitive decline that can come with age. It sort of challenges what we think is inevitable about getting older.
It absolutely does push the boundaries, but, and this is important, we need to keep a balanced perspective here.
Okay, the reality check.
Yeah, exactly. This research, while incredibly exciting, is still very much early days. These fantastic results, remember, were in mice and rhesus macaques.
Not people.
Not people. And we simply can't assume the effects will be identical in humans. Our biology is different.
Right. And even if the biology lines up, there must be huge practical challenges before this could ever be used clinically.
Oh, absolutely. First off, long-term safety in humans is a complete unknown. That needs years of rigorous testing, very careful trials.
And just making enough of these things.
That's the other major hurdle. Producing these EVs consistently and at the massive scale you'd need for widespread human treatments. Well, that's a significant logistical and manufacturing challenge right now. This isn't something you'll find at your doctor's office next year.
Okay, fair points. Early days, animal models, safety, scaling. Got it. But still.
Still pretty remarkable.
Yeah. As we wrap up, just thinking about this core, finding the ability to measurably increase bone density, boost vitality, cut inflammation, and actually reverse biological age markers. Setting the clock back over 3 months in mice, more than 2 years in macaques, it really makes you stop and think.
It does.
So for you listening, here's something to ponder. If we really can learn to harness these kinds of powerful, natural regenerative processes, what does that truly mean? Not just for how long we might live, but for the quality of those years, for our basic understanding of aging itself.
How might it reshape health, maybe even society?
Exactly. This work, which all started with looking at how a deer regrows its antlers, is genuinely pushing the limits of what we thought regenerative medicine could achieve. It's laying groundwork that, well, who knows where it might lead for the future of aging and healing.